Testing, testing. Let's start the music. Well, welcome. We're going to be working on drawing a little bit of a map today. So we're going to be calling it Beacon. This is the current city that my group is playing at the moment. And I've got a little bit of a starter map. It's going to be hard to see. But as you can see, there's some complexity to it going on, and not quite finished with the example. But that's what we'll be working on today. There's going to be a lot of different elements going on, and so we're just going to start out with the most basic of them. We're going to do some map layout tool. So I want shape, probably an ellipse. We're starting out with a 12 by 18 canvas here, and I want this first one to be pretty much centered, and I'm going to make it 8 inches. Let's go ahead and just make it a circle here. Alright, that's good enough right there. Let's make Essentials Classic. Let's get our positioning correct. What do you think? Get those alignment tools in. Where's my X position, Y position? Right, I want this one to be in the middle. So that's half and half, and all right, that's perfectly placed right there. So get rid of that middle point. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Right now, as I work, I'm going to pull this down. Let's give the center back its shape. I want to do another circle. This one is going to be my smaller concentric circles on the outside. There's going to be 8 of them, and so I need to space them out good enough. On my example here, we've got, it's hard to tell here. I'm just going to quick little measurement here. I've got them at 4 inches, and that initial one is actually 7 3/4. So let's just bring that one down in the middle, and then we can start working on this other one. I'm just scrolling my mouse wheel. That way I don't have to work with anything weird on that one. So give me a 4 and a 4. So I'm going to want to build this layers. It's gonna be, I'm gonna want this to be my top layer, so this is going to be center. And then I'm just going to go ahead and press Control, not Control, Alt. Alt is going to be my cloning tool for this one. Just grab 8 circles, doesn't matter where, and then start to place them near and dear to where I want them to be. So I've got some pretty good. Let's just start with these ones. I want them to be not intersecting. I want them to be right there, but I want the top of that to barely hit the top. So my positioning here, perfect as a 2. And I want that to be there. All right. So those would be placed right there, and then I want those 2 to be bottom circles as far as the layering goes. And then on these 2, I'm going going to want the same thing. They want these to be bottom circles. Alright, my positioning, I want to be up there. There you go. Give me a 6 right there. Can I? Yep. Right. Hit that middle again. And then for this one, I want these circles to be on top of those. So I'm just going to move that position. Excellent. Just making a quick reference to my guide here. Looks like one more. That is 5 inches in. It really helps me to draw this out physically first, have a representation of what's going on with the actual end product that you want to have. So this 5 inches is perfect right there. And again, that 5 inches, I'm looking for this 13 at the moment. Marry that up, push it up to 5, double check. Then we get the perfect ratio there. Okay. So there is the layout of my city and its circles. Now, in the very center of this building, it's going to be more of a building, less of a building, more of like an area within the city. The city itself is, I'm calling it Beacon. And the reason I'm doing that is because of, well, quite technically a Bible reference, be a light on this side of the hill and all can see you. The reason I want to do that kind of thing is because I love the symbology of that specific idea. It's like in mythology, you want to be that beacon, you want to be that shining example of what is. And naming and symbology and stuff like that is very important, invoking quick emotions with your players. And if you really think about it, in their native languages, a lot of cities are named for symbology. So making that pretty is just how it's going to have to be. So let's go ahead and just get a quick reference. I want to use my wife's favorite font. Yeah, that's what it's called, font. Century Gothic. She absolutely loves it. So let's go here and then Beacon. So let's just try to figure this out. And this is a updated version for the Illustrator that I'm using here, so it's going to take me a minute to kind of get used to what's going on. So please bear with me. If you know better than I do, just go ahead and hit it in the comments, and I'm more than happy to take any kind of criticism that you want to throw at me. So let's see, Beacon. I'm really in love with that font, so let's try to find something a little bit more my style. Maybe we'll just do a placeholder here, but I just want something to be a little bit more, I think. What do you think? I think that's going to be a great placeholder. I think I hate it as the end result, so bear with me and we will just make sure that is something we can deal with later. It's fine right there. Okay, so Beacon Bacon. Alright, let's go ahead, close out that layer. Let's add in a new layer. central beacon. Now, what I want to do is I want to transfer over to using my pen tool, and I have my Wacom tablet here. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things I've ever bought, and they said I'd never use it, but I did. So we want to find the center of everything. Let's go ahead and make another ellipse. Actually, I want to do a polygon, center, go ahead and give me 8, and give me a radius of 0.25. See how that looks. I want to have a clear outside, black, give me a 2-stroke on the outside there. I'm gonna press Alt to zoom in. I kind of like that path, and I want to make that thicker. There's a reason for that later, and let's go ahead and push that out to a 0.5. That looks like it's not big enough. So let's just make it an inch. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to object, and I want to outline a path, outline that stroke. So I should just have a compound path there. Nope, I did that wrong. Not yet. You don't want to outline it yet. I need to break up the path first. So I'm going to go ahead and use my scissors tool. Just go ahead and break up all these anchor points on here. Get separate lines already perfectly placed for me. Then what I want to do is I want to take each one of these lines and I want to transform them. I want to scale them down a little bit. Uniform. See what that does. Give me a 50%. Okay, I like that. So I am going to do the same thing for everything else. We can just go ahead, lock that, and then I'm going to scale, transform, scale. Looks like I'm going to have to do that individually. So I can unlock that layer. Object, transform again. This didn't go where I wanted to go. I wanted to transform in the middle. We're learning together, guys. We're learning together. This is just how things go. So we can't hit transform again. We need to just scale it individually each time. So for all of you professional artists out there, any advice that you have for stuff, more than happy to take it. I will tell you, I hate using shortcuts. I like having the buttons. I realize there's shortcuts for everything. That's okay. If that bothers you, that's also okay. So I'm just going to, I kind of like how that looks. So these in and of themselves are gates. So what I want to do is I want to take these circles and I want to make simultaneous gates on each one of those centers that are there we go. Just like that. So thing is, let's see. Yeah, we're gonna start because it's not exactly around, like you don't have one up here, one on the side, one on this side, one on this side. It's not like the hands of a clock. So you're going to have to kind of make do with what you've got. In fact, this one I would actually say is in correct. And there we go. Right there in the center. I want this one. And just so you know, I am pressing Alt to get it to copy the path. And I'm just holding Alt and dragging, and that is going to do exactly what I want it to do. And so you're going to have some visual clues here with the map of, all right, how is this going to go? Well, where is the center here? Give me the center. We can double check that. We will in just a second. But the reason you're giving visual clues, and I'm having all the gates face the same way for their corresponding gates, and then I will also be putting in some very faint lines in order to ensure that the message is clear. This is what I want you to be gaining from this particular effort. So some people just have a hard time what's the word? They have a hard time visualizing maps, and that's okay. That's okay. There's a lot to be done when you're doing and working with maps, and it's not always the easiest thing to visualize, especially if you have a lot of spatial reasoning difficulties, and that's okay. I'm just checking the positions here of each one of these to make sure. Looks like that guy was just a little bit off, just to make sure that they are exactly where I want them to be, in the center of those circles. It looks like the further on I got, the further off I got. So those path guides are great, but they're not always accurate. So if you want to be accurate, just go in and clean that up just a little bit. So these are my gate paths, and for all of this, we're going to want to outline them now. So now we want to outline those strokes. What I've done is basically made this to be a square, right? And now we can take the corners of that and connect them to where I want them to go. In this case, I am going to be connecting the corners of these, the corners of that. The reason being is so that there is an additional physical representation of that specific connection, and I'm going to make it very faint so it's visible. I'm probably going to put that back down to, and it's hard to see, and so it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be a visual representation of the map, and I might actually do a connection. So go ahead and block that off and do a connection between those two lines. Make it a shape. The reason that I would want to do that is so I can also fill in the bottom, the whole section. So let's go ahead and keep those locked. Okay. So what I've done is I've taken lines, I've connected them all, and then I'm going to use the joining tool. This one is just a Control J. So I'm going to hit that twice, and then I'm going to double check it. It is now a complete path. I can move it. That's what it looks like. So I'll go ahead and move it back, Control Z, and with that I can take the outline and make it a little bit darker, and then I can add like a purple, and in fact I might do some effects later, but in this particular case each one of these are going to go to separate sections of the city, and I want to like almost name them with specific colors. So this one will be going to eta, for example. And so I'm just going to kill the transparency on that, or the opacity. And so darkening the line, making it almost imperceptible. Give it a nice 10% opacity there. What that's going to do for me is the exact effect that I want. I want maybe even less. I want it to be barely perceptible. Let's see what 1% looks like. Ah, you can't even see that. Well, let's see what 5% looks like. Yes. Right there. That's something that I want there to be like almost, you have to look at the map closer in order to kind of see and discover something. And one thing that I found is that people love to discover things. They love to take what you are creating and find little hidden gems. And this is one of those things that will become a hidden gem. It's 2% opacity here. And so you really have to get in and be like, okay, but because of that, I have to go with very stark color changes. So that almost looks like a gray. Instead of going dark, I might actually go very, very light, very shiny, because I want that to be like a green. I have to leave it there for now and play with it later. But yeah, that green really kind of comes out on that. All right, so next one around this one is, let's go ahead and get that line tool out. Hit that anchor. I just want to connect those two elements. Those two. Anchor to anchor. Yeah, that's good. Anchor to anchor. Also good. I'm just going to select all of those lines. And I'm going to hit my press Control J, right? You know, I said I hated shortcuts, and I do. But that is one of them. I can't ever remember the join button. So this one is going to be the Tra4 path. The reason I love this name Tra4 is because it has linguistical significance for my specific world, and I want that to be a very vibrant orange. So I spent a lot of time doing naming conventions and such for the world that I've built, and there's an entire section that's got a very gnomish influence, and that influence has really influenced the naming conventions. And I went back and forth a lot on how do I represent these names accurately and then make them sound different from one place to another. And I think I've done that pretty well. And so Tra4 is one of those where I think I've done pretty well. And there's an entire section of the naming convention where there is split up words, and they're supposed to mean specific things. Tra4, in this case, I fancy the fact that it could mean something like ship's port, because it is literally like a mountainous island, but it has a lot of deep water ports, and that in and of itself is pretty significant. So this one will be going to Filmish. I do actually want this to be a gray, almost a brown. Gray. Gray is good, but we can go with a slightly darker gray than the outline. It's not going to matter that much. So let's get that in going. All right. Next one. And really, naming conventions is pretty important in my opinion. There are a lot of, that does not work. Go ahead. There are a lot of things that when you're world building, when you're designing things, you consider something not to be important. And names, some people will nail it, and other people just kind of suck. And that's okay if you're one of those people that suck. There's always room for improvement. And the important thing is that you're willing to improve. So this one, Sucra, this one I really had a tough time with understanding the name specifically on Sucra, because in and of itself, for me, Sucra was one of those enigmas. I left Sucra alone in my game until 2.5 years into my big campaign, the one campaign that your players talk about for forever afterwards. And I had one specific player that and you might know him, he actually runs a YouTube channel. His Flute Sloot, and I knew him, and he wanted to play an enchanter. He wanted to play a Yuan-Ti enchanter, and he's a decent player. Flutes and Opal both are amazing D&D players, and if you ever get a chance to play with them, take it. They will teach you more about the game in the first 2 hours than you'll actually have running games for years and years and years. And I consider it a great honor and privilege that he did play in my game for as long as he did. He played for about 1.5 years, and there is a lot of things that he taught me, and I hope that there's a lot of things that I taught him. So I'm just gonna continue going around. I don't like how the red turns into that orange, so that's why there's that stark difference. I wanted to make sure maybe I can even push that orange just a little bit more. But yeah, anyway, you're gonna get details in your world, and the details are what make or break the immersion for me. As a story-driven player, as a story-driven DM, the small details of your world is going to be the most important thing that you can do for your players, and they might not even notice that you do it. It's a thankless job being a DM, being a world builder, and it's amazing when your players acknowledge it, but it should never be an expectation, if that makes sense. So there's that. I guess I could probably talk about Fred. Fred is one of my players, and they are new, actually. My game is the only game they've ever played in. And, well, not anymore. It was the first game they ever played in. And they struggled so much with breaking into the group and building a rapport and just being part of the game. And it took Fred probably a solid 6 months before they were comfortable just playing character. And don't get me wrong, this person, is an actor. They go to drama class. They love the theater. And so the idea of playing this game is intrigues them, and they love it. But breaking into a new group is difficult for some people, but it's easy for others. And you have to keep that in mind when you encounter new people. That social anxiety, and I'm not saying Fred had social anxiety, but a lot of people do, and it's very difficult to break into new groups, especially with friends that have been playing for years and years and years. So give people some slack. That's all I really have to say on that one is give people some slack, and they will surprise the heck out of you. I misnamed a few things. Let's go back to a few of these. I think this one I want to be that nice aqua color, but this one is actually not Meyer. This is going to be Bastion. Well, back to my point. This one's going to be Meyer. Allow people to grow. Allow people to surprise you and be themselves. That's probably the most important thing that you're going to ever do. This one's... And then also, I noticed that as a DM, it's very important for you to foster the group cohesion and creativity. And it's kind of a trope at this point in time, but the DM, you are the de facto leader of the group. If you're not meeting at your place or wherever you live, you are at least dictating where that place is. If you are running the game, you're the coordinating. You're the coordinating aspect, and the game does not run without you. You cannot miss a game, ever. And so, out of the entirety of all the players, I would say the DM is the glue that keeps the group going. That's a difficult job. That's a really difficult job, because that's a tall order. that's a lot for anybody. But if you're not used to that role, it can be intimidating. Very intimidating. I love this aspect. Like, here, let's yeah, intimidating. You'll definitely feel like everybody's judging you, but you get a good group and they're not judging you. They're taking what you have and they are building off of that. And that's the important thing to remember, is you are providing an avenue for their characters, their fun, their ability to really develop a unique story around them. They want to be the heroes of their own story. And so let them. I think that's the best thing to remember, is you just need to let them be those heroes. Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna try something before we start getting into the meat and potatoes of the city building. Bear with me just a minute. I'm just gonna open up some of my folders, see if I have a skeleton of the continent ready. I want to do an overlay of it, and unfortunately I might not have it. So, well, not anything that's small enough, at least. Let's try to find something that's small. I apologize. This is taking a little longer. I should have been a little more ready. Hey, this one might work. My computer's a little chuggy. Yeah, that won't work. Oh, but it won't. Can I do this? Can I do this? Okay. Oh, I need to select the whole dang thing. There it is. Unite everything. And I just gotta think. Yeah. That's not going to work. Let's not save that. Let's try. Oh, that's the smallest one. It's going to be so difficult to do. No, I think I can pull it from this one. This is my map project. So if I grab that and go ahead and copy it, and then let's just go ahead and get me a new layer here, paste that. Oh yeah, that's big. Let's go ahead and scale that all the way down. I want that to be in the middle. And I want that to be in the direct middle. And let's just have an inch wide. Let's go 1.5. And let's put this layer beneath that. Okay. Let's make it a little bigger. So we want caster. Actually, I can probably shrink it. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get a physical representation of where these things go. And overlay them just enough. Because Meyer's here, Bastion's here, Sucre's there, Thomish, Trafor, Eta, Pronost, Caster. Go ahead and give me a little bit of that. Kind of liked it better. I have to do a little bit of a manual. Yeah, I kind of like that. Then you get some really good physical representation there. And then I want there to be a little bit more of a... I want to texturize that later. But for now, let's just keep it at that nice light gray, almost imperceptible. I like that. I like that a lot. That way you have a very physical representation of like the continent of who and what this is. And then right in the middle is Beacon, right there, where everything intersects. That's beautiful. I like that a lot. So give me a dot. I want a dot. Everything in the middle. You know, I've been doing this for a while now, and I don't remember how to make a dot. How awful am I? I think I figured it out, though. Give me a 5-point dot, 10-point dot. Some light. It's pretty dark in here, so I've got to get some light on my keyboard so I can see what I'm doing. Kind of like the aesthetics of this. It's too bright back there. It takes away from what I'm trying to do. Alright, this layer is pretty complex. I'm just going to leave that there, and I am going to leave that there. Although I am going to put layer 3. Okay. There. And that way, layer 2. This is going to be map. This is going to be districts. And this one is going to be gates. I love layers. Layers are my favorite thing in the world. All right, next I want to do kind of a natural, like there is some water features on this map. I'm gonna pull it up again, and I want to start off with defining some natural water features. And in that case, I want to map up just a little bit. Apologize for the noise. Let's see what we got. And in this one, I want to just kind of do a free form. I want to start off. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, I mapped out a little bit of, and again, I want this to be really thin. Mapped out a little bit of this at the beginning, and I want there to be definitely some inspiration taken from it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to make this map my own, because the digital version is what's going to be the what I use for most of my stuff. So you can press Alt to anchor this specific curvature tool as a there we go, as a sharp angle instead of a whatever that is. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. That. All right. Then you can just add an anchor point in the middle. I don't know if you know that trick. You can add anchor points just basically anything. Give me slightly darker water outline. I like that. This is just a representation for now of some water, and then I want there to be a waterfall. And just go ahead and anchor there. Anchor there. This waterfall is going to be just kind of a short little one. Play with it a little bit. Illustrator sometimes really likes to anchor into specific points, which is fine for the most part. That's fine, but sometimes it gets annoying. Yeah, sometimes. There's a pretty significant pond at the base of the cliff here. And then there's some pretty significant rivers that go through some of the other places, and so I want to try and represent a little bit of this cliff face, and then just kind of bring it out very natural flow. This pond, as it's part of the mystique and wildlife of this particular section of the city, and I can even give it a hidden waterfall aesthetic right here. Let's get rid of that last one. Go ahead and those two. And then complete the path. Give that, and then bring it back in for that nice pond-like structure. No, I didn't. I'll be adding some detail to that later. And there is a river that runs out of this pond. And I want it to run out, and I do rivers a very specific way. I'll kind of show you how that's done. It makes it a little bit easier, I think. But I want it to run essentially from, let's go ahead and look that. I want it to run from here. Give me where's the pencil tool? Right there. And this is probably where the walking tablet will come into great hand. So I want to bring out the river right here as it kind of flows out. You can do a lot with a Wacom tablet, but it is great in some cases and kind of terrible in some others. So I want to cut a path out for this water section. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And there we go. So, and then I want to join up this path with that one. Okay, and then I'm just going ahead and do a simple, that's not going to work. Let's just go ahead and take that. Kind of give me a stark. And this is actually not the way I usually do rivers, but I'll make it count. So this is an in-city river. It's okay if you have some pretty stark lines. When people in general start domesticating water sources, it's pretty evident in the way that the flow happens, that there is specific purposes for different things, like a small dam might be very important for water control, or a small, there we go. A small section that has a lot of um, just walls, bringing it in, pushing it through the city, taming that river, allowing for bridges to go over it. That is all very natural for waterways. And then what I'm doing is I'm kind of just sharpening the edges of this cliff face just a little bit to kind of indicate that there's something different about this particular area that we're going to be working with later. So with that, we're going to reintroduce this water, and then I'm going to be, hold on, it doesn't like me. All right, I just have to do a quick join on that one. I don't know why I did that. There we go. Are we all on path now? Are we all happy? There's gonna be no weirdness coming from that, I hope. So now we can just go ahead and this is one of those areas where I want there to be like a park that has a very like noticeable section of the stream that has been curated and is taken care of differently than the other parts of this stream. And don't be afraid to give it some sharp edges and you know, take a little bit of creativity out and take it for a spin. See what happens. Definitely want to put in a sharp area there for like a bridge right there. Right there. Yeah, I like that. So you can really see like the difference in different areas of the path of the river, and you can add as many of these points as possible. The only thing that is going to limit you is the power of the machine that you're working on. The better the graphics driver that you have, the more points you're going to be able to utilize. And I think I'm going to kind of leave a lot of that there, right where it's at. I almost want to like, and you can delete a lot of these points to create straight paths. And I kind of want to do it that way, so give it a really good straight path. The reason I kind of want to do it this way is I want this part to be a very tame portion of the river stream that comes out of this. I kind of like that. All right, we're going to lock that up. Layer 4 is going to be our water layer. All right, so there's the central area of water. What we got next? We've got Thomish has quite a substantial river running through it. Let's go ahead and hit Thomish. It'll be this one right here. Something that I do sometimes is I will take a district and I will copy it into the water area. So that's going to be a control drag to copy it. Maybe. Scratch that. Is it Alt? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Yep. And this one, I want there to be no center. And then the reason I pulled this over is I'm just going to use the scissor tool, and I'm going to cut out a section of this path. That's going to be this mighty river, and I want that because I want the curvature of this circle, and it's very important to get that because then it will match directly what I want to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that section. I'm going to select that. I'm just using Shift to select the different portions of that. So I've got two paths here now. I've got this one and this one. And eventually I'll be adding this into the district map. So don't worry if it gets a little overlooped and it looks weird. It's supposed to. So let's just go ahead and start with this. This is going to be my anchor. No, it's not. Just kidding. I'm going to start from up here because that's what it wants me to do. And this one, the gate of this particular district of the city is almost on the water. And there's going to be a bridge there. I'm going to add that, anchor that in. Just go ahead and anchor that just like so. Now you have a beautiful blue river that will represent that section of the city. And that's pretty harsh. Those bodies of water are always pretty harsh. I find that, you kind of want to lighten it up just a little bit, and you can do that through color. I find opacity to be a little bit better. If you just give it like an 80% opacity, it kind of gives it that translucent look. Again, we're going to be adding texture to this later, so these are just placeholders. What is next as far as water goes? Looks like Pronost has got a large water feature, and then Pronost is up here. It has a river going from the southeast to the north end of the map, and it kind of wraps around this section here. So let's go back to my districts. Go ahead and select that, and I do believe it is Alt that will copy it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alt. Final answer. Promise. Okay, so let's go ahead, get my scissors tool, and I'm going to want to start off here, and then it's going to end up in the north end of the map. In fact, I kind of want it to end up over here. It's going to be a thinner river, just for fun. Funsy. Okay, so that, go ahead and delete that. I've now got my two paths here. Again, we're going to select our curvature tool and go ahead and there we go. And we're going to want to, I'm just going to do this manually for now. I'm going to use the tablet later to really get it where I want it to be. Alright, where is that other path? Let's get rid of that for a minute. I'm I'm using the Alt button to combine the paths. Again, another section of the city that is gated right by a river. So that is pretty. I like that. What do you guys think? Pretty? Not pretty? Worth my time? Tell me I suck. All the same to me. Really. Alright, I'm gonna lock all of our layers up. And then which next section? So caster is probably the only other one. And it's practically on a shoreline there, so it's just going to be one big section. That's not caster, that's Meyer. Let's go ahead and reach down, grab this, go ahead and Alt, lock that back up again, drop the middle, grab my scissors tool. I'm just going to hit that and that. I'm going to press Control, Shift, Control, Select, get rid of that, and then select that curvature tool. I'm just going to up and over. I'm just going to bring that in. And I do a visual inspection every once in a while to make sure that the outlines really get what I want out of there. And then this is supposed to represent like a massive river and just a coastline there. I like that. Water is done. So next we are going to do cliffs. I'm terrible with cliffs, really. This is something I really need to work on. So we're going to skip it now, but we are going to create a layer for it. Call it cliffs. And then skip it. But they are actually really important, these cliffs, because I do have pretty significant underground elements in this, and so maybe I should start with the underground and play with that a little bit. I think that this is going to be a fun aspect of everything, is this underground part. And I've got a underground barracks that I want to do that connects to the outside, and then the cliffs will kind of be built up in and around it. So I want there to be, I'll grab my curvature tool again. So let's just go ahead and start off with a little bit of a rectangle shape. Unlock that layer there, and I'm going to I don't know how I like that. Go ahead and just give me black, and then I can move it like that. That's fine. That's fine. So what I've done here is I want to make like a gatehouse area that is built into the side of this hill here. So I want there to be almost like a cliff side entrance to a slightly larger shrine looking thing, but I want there to be a little bit smaller. Let's get working in here. I like to, when I get to this point, I like to really get into the dirty details. Alright, and then I want a circle. What are we looking at shape. It is a circle. Okay. I'm just gonna kind of build up this shape. See if I can't just play with it a little bit. It's okay if it's a little misshapen. The whole thing, if you want, I think I want that smaller. Let's try that. And then I have back, let's grab another rectangle tool. And move it back there. Really what it is, I'm just trying to build interesting shapes. I want to build good, interesting shape that comes off of this. And so you'll see here, I want to build that. And if I can get my camera to work right. I'm not succeeding very well. So instead of putting it actually where I want it to go, let's just go ahead and kill that, start over. Let's make this central area building thing. And then I'm just gonna, honestly, add some points, anchor points, right there, one in the middle. And then away, halfway across, and then I can use those anchor points however I like. Go and delete that. I'm liking that so far. Tell you what, it's getting rather late. I'm gonna sit and think on that. I'm gonna call it a night here. But I think, from a blank slate, I think that was great. I think we want to do some independent typography on this one. I've got some fonts that I like to do myself. I think that might be the best thing for that. And we're going to get down to labeling and stuff like that. So next round, we're going to do buildings. Buildings are good. So this one is going to be more of a set for a high density city, and when you want to do that, you want to have kind of more of a uniform palette. And then I want to use some really interesting textures for like roofing and different colors. And then I also want to bring in some good textures for the water, for the map in and of itself. I want to really make this a good looking map. And keep in mind, this is Illustrator, this is vector files, so really getting a lot of good textures is difficult. I like using Illustrator over Photoshop only because of the vectoring. I can really make things expand huge if I want to, and I don't have to recreate a map. I just have to clean it up. And so that's something that I love about Illustrator. I've taught myself in Illustrator. I worked in Illustrator. So if you are a professional working with these programs, please be patient. I have my own ways. My wife, she's a graphic artist, and she hates the way I do things. So if you can't stand it, I'm sorry. That's just the way I am. Probably not going to change. Just saying. So with that, thanks for hanging out, and I guess we'll see you later.